Hi, so this is going to be a quick guide to the Maldives. So, my wife and I have been to the Maldives 7 times now to four different resorts, four different ones because we found one that we really like and we just kept going back. So, this is going to be a quick guide about like if you should do an all-inclusive package or if you just should do like room and board, including just breakfast or dinner, and things about the seaplane and things about what you should bring to the island that maybe that may help you be a little bit more comfortable. In any case, so getting to the Maldives isn't easy, which I think it's a good thing because if it's too close, then everybody would go there. So even me or even us, we it takes like 14 hours to get there, but somehow we make it there or we try to make it there, at least every 1 year and a couple months. In any case, what do I recommend? Do I recommend picking a bigger island or a small island? I've been to the second largest one, and the largest island, obviously, is the capital, Mali. But I've been to the second largest resort, which is Kuredu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing all these right because they're I think Indian derived or Maldivian derived. So we went to the second largest island, and it was just massive. It's cool at first because it seems like a little village or a little city inside this island, but the seaplanes, which makes quite a bit of noise, are constantly in and out, going in and out. So it's really loud, right? Those little planes, propeller planes, are actually quite loud, and then you hear it all the time. Plus, they do the welcoming drums. So all the workers out there or whoever's available are out there welcoming the new guests. So the drums are playing constantly, and you could hear it even if you're kind of farther away, right? Unless you're completely on the opposite island. Getting to the buffets takes a long time. So sometimes, like if they put you on an island very far, or like even in the middle side of the island, you have to request a buggy, and requesting a buggy can take a long time, right? And just walking can also take a long time. So if you do get to this island, which actually is the only island that I do not recommend. We only ended up going to this island because my wife wanted to check out their golf range or whatever they had, which was actually quite disappointing. Anyways, wow, I'm starting on a very negative note. It really this island wasn't the best, so maybe I should start with what's bad, right? Because this island was so massive that it had three different zones, and you can eat at a different zoned restaurant, but apparently you have to make a reservation, and we were just playing on a different side of the island that than we were assigned to, and the workers got really annoyed, like almost kind of a condescending annoyance that I asked if we can eat right by where we're playing, and he made a couple of phone calls, and then he, you know, said yes, but I never felt such condescension or rudeness at a resort, right? And we went for like an all-inclusive package like we always do, but it really wasn't nice. I don't recommend this island at all, right? Even though they're they put a bunch of lights around the fishies, so you could see a lot of sharks and stuff at night, and the coloring looks insane. But at the same time, like it wasn't just that worker that was rude. Many of the drivers were not nice, and even the check-in person, she was very welcome at first, but then when I asked something later, she never got back to me. So yeah. Should you do an all-inclusive or not? Oh, sorry. So I was talking about. So should you go to a bigger island? Well, that was a massive island. So I actually recommend going to kind of a not the tiniest island because there are islands on the Maldives where like you could have like 20 people there and then rest of the people are staff. I don't recommend that. It just seems kind of like you're lost. But unless you're going for that. But I went to like a smaller island, not the smallest, and one of them was Mufushi, And the other one that we really like, which has been under construction for a while, as far as I know, is Veligandu. So that's actually my favorite island, except they're I think they're reopening this year. Anyways, so go to a smaller one. Seems more private. They're way more willing to take care of you. It's less noisy, and the seaplanes come and go not as frequently, so it's not crazy, right? It's not so hectic. But the downside of that is when you check in, you can only check in at certain times if the island's smaller because there's less flights to those islands, and you also have to leave earlier than you would want to because they try to bunch up all the people who are leaving the island that day, and they don't make that many trips. So if your flight is at like 1 p.m. leaving Maldives, they may actually, this happened to us, right? They may actually group everybody up around like 8, 9 o'clock, and it's like a 20-minute flight over, seaplane ride over, but you're just at the airport doing nothing. So something to consider. Just ask them if they could send you as late as possible. I've seen guests get into arguments with the hosts because they didn't want to leave so early. Because what are they gonna do at the airport? The airport's so tiny, there's really nothing to do, right? So it's kind of like getting kicked out. In any case, so should you do an all-inclusive? Well, it really depends. We've always done the all-inclusive thing because we don't want to think about like, hey, how much do we spend, right? It's great, but unless you're a heavy drinker and you've never been there before, like I don't think it's the best deal. You're constantly fed, you're always full, right? So even if you just do like breakfast and dinner, you'll be out and about doing activities and such that you're I don't think you're really all that hungry, right? And even if you are, the prices are not crazy. So if you're not a heavy drinker and you're not gonna go all out just trying every drink that's out there, I actually recommend not getting the all-inclusive package. Maybe like if it's the first and only time you're going to go, because they do include a dolphin cruise. So they take you out during sunset, and then you could go. They take you to an area where the dolphins are, which is quite cool. Unless it's that. Oh, it also includes like borrowing snorkeling gear, but I actually recommend like investing in maybe like $80 per set of just snorkeling goggles and that tube that you breathe through, because a lot of the things that they lend out, and all resorts do lend it out to you overnight if you ask them, or during the period of your stay if you're an all-inclusive, they do lend it out, but it's kind of worn. It doesn't, I think it's better just to spend that $80 and then carry it with you all the time, right? Which is what we're planning to do the next time we go, even though we borrowed it every single time. The all-inclusive package also includes, they usually give you champagne, actually, a bottle of champagne in your room, which is really nice. The package also includes like paddleboarding and all this other stuff that you could borrow. But the funny thing is, they only lend it out to you for like an hour, right? And you could only do it at like one time a day. So I remember I was out paddling along trying to get to my room, because I could have done that from the what's it called, lagoon, right? And I was like, oh man, I only have 20 minutes left. So I actually took my paddle out and then rushed over. Like I carried it over because I was about to be over the time limit. So it may vary from resort to resort, but that's generally the thing that they seem to do. Like they say all inclusive, but it's very limited. Even the food at the bars and drinks at the bars are not all, completely everything you want to consume all inclusive. There's like a separate section where they say, hey, we're going to charge for this, charge for that. So you're kind of limited to like things like pina colada and just very basic drinks. At one of the resorts, actually, they said mojitos are an extra charge, they're not included. So that's something to be very aware of, right? Because I assumed when I first went there that everything was all inclusive, unless like obviously you're drinking like Johnny Blue or some expensive whiskey. I'm not a big drinker, so in any case, so should you get a beach villa or water villa? I mean, there is a price difference. I stayed at both, But I really prefer the beach water villa. I really prefer the water villa. Obviously, most people would prefer it because I think it's like $100 more, maybe $150 more than a beach villa. But it seems like a lot of Europeans that go to the Maldives, they actually prefer the beach villa. That's what I've heard from the hosts. But the water villa, especially if you could get on the sunset side, is amazing, right? And when you wake up in the morning and you just see that color, like it's just ridiculous, right? But if you're on the beach villa, you just see sand and then the water, so it's not as nice. It just seems kind of you just seem kind of farther away. But if you're on the water villa, you could go there, and then usually there's a light in the back. You could turn it on, and then you could see the fish swimming along, right? The crystal clear waters. I think it's quite worth it. Or you could do like what we've done before, which is like 2 days, 2 days water villa and 2 days beach villa. Obviously, I think the order should be backwards, but yeah, do that combination. Yeah, so a lot of people are kind of turned off by how expensive the seaplanes are. And it does seem really, really expensive for such a short trip. But I think there's like two companies basically running the seaplanes. Trans Maldivian Airways, which is, I think, the largest seaplane carrier in the world. And it seems like they have a monopoly on this, so they could charge kind of exorbitant fees. And they do, right? So the seaplanes transfers are usually like $350 to $400 per person round trip, unless you're staying at a resort. Like some resorts, they say if you stay like 4 nights or 5 nights, they'll include it in the or they say free, but it's basically included in your stay. um it's expensive, but I think it's actually worth it like 1 or 2 times, because the view from up top, a couple hundred feet up top, it's really amazing. You could see a lot of the resorts or some of the atolls that are not developed at all. So it's quite cool, but it is kind of off-putting, since like sometimes my transfer flight from Singapore, round trip only costs $600, and that's like on a jet, right? So you really don't have a choice for this, but be careful when you're booking. A lot of times they say this is very separate, so there are all these fees, and then on the bottom it says seaplane not included, and then you have to pay them upfront, or not upfront. You have to pay them like before you leave. So don't get sticker shocked. Some resorts offer a boat ride. So if you're nearby Malay Velana Airport, then you can actually just get a boat ride over. And there's a really good thing about this. Like obviously it's cheaper, right? It's like 150 a ride, or a lot of places are, or 150 round trip. A lot of places are actually free. They just include it because you don't have to get on a plane, right? Um, but and there's also another good side, which is that you like I talked earlier about how they just kind of jam you guys up in separate groups for the seaplane, so you have to leave at a certain time. But usually, with the boat transfers, they kind of match when you have to take your flight back home, right? So when we went to, I forgot which resort. We went to one of the resorts that had a sea transfer. Like they took us right before we had to take our flight. So it was actually amazing. We got to stay at the hotel as late as possible, which usually isn't the case with if you have to take a seaplane, right? So that's actually something to consider. It's cheaper, but you don't get the views, right? So if you've never been to the Maldives before, I do recommend the seaplane once, and then maybe you could go to an island that does just boat transfers. It's on a speedboat. So it's only like 15, 20 minutes away. Actually, maybe like 20 minutes. And the seaplanes are usually like 20 minutes to 40 minutes, but like the whole boarding process and all that takes much longer. So it's way more convenient to take the boat. But you don't get the scenery. So something to consider. Yeah, try to schedule your flight arriving at the Maldives, arriving at the airport around 12 o'clock, 12 p.m., like noon. Because if you get in too late, then the seaplanes don't take you, right? So you have to come in early. I know they try to reserve and tell you everything, but they if you get in late, then the last seaplane out is 4 p.m. So, which I believe, right? So, if you arrive after that, then you're gonna have to spend the night at Male, the capital, or like the airport island nearby, right? And they've been developing a lot. I've been going to Maldives for 8 years now, and it has developed a lot, but the prices also have gone up significantly for these tiny rooms, right? So you get a tiny little uh, hotel room, and I remember when I first got to Maldives, like first took a vacation in Maldives, it was like 150 US dollars for a night for a decently clean place that was near the airport. So it's like a 15-minute bus ride from the airport, and then they take you back and forth. It's like $10 to $20. I don't know if it's round trip, but like so it all varies, but they tell you, right? But it's like 10-15 minutes away from the actual airport, and then you have to spend the night there. So I actually don't recommend that unless you want to check out Male, the city. Um, I recommend arriving like around noon or early in the morning, and then just take the seaplane in as soon as possible to your island, or take the speedboat to your island. It's the best thing to do because the airport's right now under construction, and it's really small. There's like nowhere to go, right? So you kind of resort to going to these tiny makeshift hotels, and they're asking for quite a bit of money now. So it used to be like 150, but I've seen ones up to like $450, which is insane. The same one that I stayed at 5 years ago is asking triple the price around the same time. So arrive around noon or earlier, and then schedule it so that you get to your island as soon as possible. Like it's so much better to just get to the island and chill and wait to check in instead of hanging around at the airport. What items should you bring? I actually recommend bringing like a very, very aggressive soap. I know that seems bizarre, but all the resorts on the Maldives seems to use all this the same soap. Maybe it's the water, but the soap and the same soap because it just you're washing and you just don't feel clean. I think I don't know if it's the seawater or just the water that's coming out or the soap, but I've been taking my own soap, like dial soap, and it has helped a lot. Also, bring some insect repellents. The islands usually spray something, right? They spray something to, I guess, ward off the mosquitoes that are there. But there's still mosquitoes around here and there, and I know some people are really sensitive to it. So bring some bug repellent. If you forget, most of the stores usually have a little shop where you could buy stuff, but it's really expensive. So it's probably best to bring something that matches with your skin or whatever you're used to, I guess. And also watch out for ants. So like I was just sitting at the bar one time, no mosquitoes, didn't hear anything. I look down and there was just ants all over my legs, and the bites are awful. Like it'll last probably 2 weeks. Like it'll be swollen for a while. So take note of that, and obviously bring a lot of sunblock because it is extremely. The sun when it's out, it is extreme. I mean, you could be out there for a couple hours and you'll be toast, right? I've seen people walk around like lobsters out there. Hopefully they're okay, but bring a lot of sunblock and stay under the sun. At night it's actually really, really cool. So maybe you could bring like a very thin cardigan while you're walking around at the beach because it is amazing to see the stars at night. You could actually see the Milky Way galaxy if the moon is not out. So if it's a new moon, I've seen it clearly, and you can't even see your hand in front of you because it's so dark. Anyways, that's just a quick guide to the Maldives. So hope you enjoy.